Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
All right, welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. And if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do for a living.
My name's Wayne Cloth. I live in West Palm Beach, though I work in New York City, and I help run a company called MagidNYC, which is a 66-year-old fashion accessory house that was founded by a Holocaust survivor whose sons now are the owners and run it. I specialize on the men's side of the business. My nickname in the industry is the Mad Hatter, so there you have it.
Awesome. So how did you get into this industry in the first place?
I'm not sure we have a long enough time for that. I actually have a very untraditional background to get into fashion. I actually graduated from college and went into advertising in New York. And I worked for some of the largest advertising agencies and on some of the biggest ad campaigns ever. I worked for BMW, I worked on Hyundai, I worked on IBM, Club Med, a whole litany, and in the late 80s, early 90s, yeah, I'm an old guy, the late 80s, early 90s, I had kind of gotten tired. I was an associate media director, so we would be the ones who told the clients where to spend their money, and unfortunately, we didn't really matter to the agency per se, because the creative guys were the guys who really were the stars, even though without the good placement, it didn't matter how good their creative was. And I progressed from there. I actually had been racing sports cars, and a ad came up to be the sales director for National Speed Sport News, which was at the time the Bible of the motorsports industry, owned by a guy named Chris Economaki, who was iconic. He was the Howard Cosell of auto racing, and worked there. And then from there, got hired by NASCAR, worked for NASCAR for a bunch of years, got hired to start a .com with a bunch of guys in the automotive industry, segued back to NASCAR, and about halfway through my last year at NASCAR, I met a guy at the Daytona 500 who ran a company that made the vast majority of the hats in the fashion industry, especially in motorsports. And he was like, you really need somebody with your background. And I was like, well, I work for NASCAR. It's a pretty good gig. And he said, well, let me put together a package. You take a look at it and let me know what you think. So he sent me the package. I called my wife and said, we're changing jobs. So I've been working in fashion since 2003 and have worked at a number of different companies, starting with that one, to date, I believe I've made 35 million baseball hats for different brands.
Awesome. So in terms of right now, right, what's a typical day look like for you?
Well, when it doesn't start at 3 a.m, when I get emails from China or from other things, I get up and, I'm really concentrating on our men's stuff. We have a men's underwear brand. We have men's baseball hat brand. Underwear brand's called Up Boxers. Baseball hat brand's called Williamsburg Hatters. And then we have a bag brand that's coming out called Jack Abrams. And really a bunch of different things. Right now, I've been, kind of operating more as, trying to bring us into the 21st century from a digital standpoint. We've moved all of our catalogs for all divisions onto a platform called Brand Boom, which allows us to wholesale via e-commerce to our customers as opposed to having to take a phone call all the time. So that's been a pretty big, I'd say about the last 3 or 4 months project, because we have somewhere in the area of 4,000 different SKUs, and they're on all different types of product, from hats to bags to pashminas, ruanas, women's stuff, cosmetic bags. So getting that all into the system where it makes sense to our customers is a lot of work. I mean, it literally, I'm trying to take 1995 technology and move it into 2021 technology.
For sure. So is the whole business B2B, or do you do any direct to consumer sales?
The majority of our business, 92% of our business right now, is B2B. We sell everybody from Nordstrom Rack on down. We have very nice business with guys like TJ Maxx. But we also have direct to consumer. We have several websites. Again, we have jackabramsaccessories.com. We have newyorkmotorboutique.com, upboxers.com, williamsburghatters.com. We have an Amazon business. We're kind of all over the place.
Right. So what would you say is the biggest challenge that you face day to day in the business?
Fighting guys with really big, from a D2C business, fighting guys with a really big budget. It's hard to break through the clutter when you have got, you're throwing peanuts when they're throwing grenades. For example, Tommy John, great underwear brand, no different than ours, but they've got like a $75 million ad budget.
Right.
It's kind of hard to fight that. So our job is really to try and beat them marketing wise, not spending wise.
Right. So I guess like when you say this, so they're spending $75 million a year in terms of like for one brand specifically,
Right.
what would you say is like how much do you guys typically spend and like what's a good ROAS number? Okay, like this is
So again, I was an associate media director at Ogilvy and Mather. ROAS and ROI are all BS because you
Right.
see, all the advertising, you see these guys say, well, we're going to make your ROAS this, we're going to give you 4 times this. Pardon my French, and it's horseshit.
Right.
If these guys actually performed as well as they said, there'd only be about 10 agencies because the average consumer product company goes through minimally 3 to 4 digital agencies before they find the right one because
Right.
they're all promise you the world.
Right.
In my world, you want to underpromise and overdeliver, and they overpromise and underdeliver.
Right.
And that's the reality of today's digital world. You should be on TikTok, you should be here, you should be there. You need an influencer, unless your influencer is a Kardashian, or somebody along that, a D'Amelio, somebody along those lines. If they've got 300,000 followers, of those 300,000 followers, and there's all sorts of digital stuff you can see, how they interact with it. It's eventually Amazon's can just kick everybody out of the business. That's just the reality of it.
Right. But I'm saying for your brand specifically, let's just say like for the underwear brand, right? Like how much, because you mentioned like your competition is spending, let's just say $75 million a year.
Right.
So
by the way, they're at their $75 million, their profit is only probably 4%.
Right. But I'm saying for you, like do you spend, like $1 million a year, 10 million, like you said, it's like
So let's say, okay, I'll give you numbers. They're not real numbers, but if I'm spending 50,000, I should expect 500 to 750, but that never happens. That's not reality.
Right.
If you do 3 times ad spend, you're doing really good.
For sure. So I guess like in terms of, because like you mentioned, right, that you're spend a lot of time focus on these direct to consumer brands, right? And you do Amazon. So in terms of 2024, like what are some of your goals in terms of like even percentage wise to get from where you're at today to next year, like as you are growing these brands?
One of the goals is just to get the name out there better, right? We have product wise, our product is as good, if not better than, any of the name brand. The reality of it is that unless you are buying your standard polyester brand, which is, could be anything from an Adidas 3-pack to, Odd Socks or PSD, they're all exactly the same. You're buying a fun print, but the reality of it is that how many people are seeing your underwear? That's the reality of it. So for us, trying to get the message across that we're delivering a piece that is being sold by competitors to a third more expensive, and you can get it the same quality for better. It's perception versus reality. That is really the issue. It's for us, we've got to build the perception of our brand, or the reality of our brand being more important than the perception of everybody else's brand.
Right.
They've all got, fun marketing. They've got, all sorts of trademarked, and, 2 of the brands, actually, Tommy John is being sued by another brand, and they're suing somebody else for use of a phrase about their pouch. And when we developed our underwear, our mindset was honestly that men just want to pull their underwear on. They don't want to have to worry about tucking pieces into different parts of their underwear. So we engineered it such that when you pulled your underwear on, it worked, right? But getting that message across because you can't exactly advertise showing how it's done, right? You can show it in pictures, but again, that requires big ad dollars.
Right.
So what we want to do is we just want to get our message across better for 2024, that you're getting similar, if not better product for, half the price.
For sure. So, I mean, I guess who is like your ideal customer for this product?
The ideal customer is, I'd say 25 to 54, probably a little bit more. Let's say HHI 50,000. I don't need I don't want the guys who are buying based on the name because it's a name brand. Because the underwear, my wife doesn't give a poop what I wear for underwear, right? And most guys, it's still people are brand centric,
Right.
but for certain things, that's kind of silly because they're sold, like, for example, a brand has 5 or 6 different iterations of the same thing, right?
Right.
Or they're using different fabrics, or they're changing a fabric. They're not telling you that you're paying the same thing for the fabric that you thought you were getting and getting a different fabric.
Right.
It's all marketing. I mean, best example, Manscaped, who 2 years ago everybody knew, right? We made all of their underwear for them. And there
Right.
was nothing in the underwear that had anything to do with their marketing of it online.
Right.
Quite literally. I mean, they made claims that weren't even close to being true, but
Right.
nobody holds brands to that, right? That's the reality of marketing. A really good marketer, can sell chicken crap instead of chicken salad, and people will buy it because they believe the message.
Right.
So that's the biggest hurdle for us is getting past that marketing and making our customer understand that there's no reason for them to spend that kind of money.
Right.
And you'll see that fast fashion is kind of doing that to a lot of brands because, Shein and Temu and those guys, they'll sell you something that looks exactly like, $500 brand, and everybody knows that for $7 it's disposable. You're not buying it
Right.
long, you're not putting it in your closet for 100 years, right? It just,
Right.
and that's for most marketers, and you refer to ROAS or ROI, they've probably got, if they didn't have the factories, they'd be bankrupt yesterday because nobody can honestly work on that sort of margin. I know what stuff costs, and if they're generally selling a pair of underwear for $4, it's basically paper thin. And my daughter has bought bikinis from Shein, whatever, and they come, and I'm like, what do you pay for that? She's like $8. So she doesn't. Her expectations are that it'll make it through half a season.
Right, right. So in terms of the underwear that you're selling, for example, like you're saying, right, that you're focused more on the comfort and you're not obviously, making any claims or guarantees. It's just like, listen, people have to wear underwear. It's a product that they need to buy. It's comfortable. It's like it feels great. And that's it. Just, buy it. So I guess in terms of, retail, right? So like, are you looking at retail for this product as
Yeah,
well?
we're in several small boutiques, and it's again, people are walking in asking for these other brands, and the boutique is not making as much money with those brands, but people, right? One of our things is we tell people is that a good pair of expensive underwear or quality premium underwear, you shouldn't know you have them on. Honestly, that's the
Right,
bottom
right,
line. That you
right,
shouldn't know you're
exactly.
wearing is you should feel like Commando. And we use that in some of our marketing. We have, some dedicated trademarked IP, the dugout pouch. We have the dugout. Other brands have the bullpen. We have a quick release fly, which is a horizontal fly, which works really well. We have a proprietary micromodal mesh cross panel. And if I had $100 million, I'd be kicking everybody's butt because honestly, they're as comfortable, if not more than everybody else's. But given the budgets we have to, the retailers that have them have told us that their customers love them. We also have a bunch of athletes who wear them. We're not paying anybody to take our product. The biggest compliment is if I send an athlete 2 pair and he buys 10 pair, there you go.
Right.
If you see our Instagram, you'll see that I tag a lot of athletes on there.
Right.
They don't have a problem with it because they like the product. I'm not paying them to do that.
Okay.
We may bring in a equity partner as an athlete, but that's, it's easier for us to do that than go out and get a bigger ad budget.
For sure. So do you manage all the Instagram yourself or do you have a team that helps you out?
We have a digital agency, number 3, that manages it for us, though I am pretty deeply involved in it also.
Right.
Just I know the product better than they do. And
sure.
that's one of the other things I've found about digital marketers. They look at, not Amazon, they'll look at, Google Words and this and that, but they don't know the product, and I think the biggest problem with marketers today is they're selling things they don't know anything about. I don't
Right,
know
exactly.
if you're old enough to remember a movie called The Secret of My Success with Michael J. Fox. So
No.
there's a scene where he's you got to go through the whole movie, but he puts on a pair of pants and he gets caught in the elevator putting these pants on. And the guy goes, "What are you doing?" It's like, "Well, I'm testing out on new pants because we need to understand." But the reality of it is that most good marketers will understand the product that they are selling. And by understand, I mean, they'll actually, try it, get it in their hand. I tell people, a lot of the time that if you want to promote our brand, I said, let me send it to you first. Because if you don't like it, I don't want you lying about the brand.
Right, exactly.
I want your honesty. I want you to tell me, yeah, this is the best thing since sliced bread, or you know what? There's better. Well, if there's better, great. Let me know, because the only way we can get better is to aspire to be better.
For sure.
One of my pet peeves in life is somebody who refers to themselves as an expert, because an expert has ceased to learn, right?
Right.
You can have an expertise,
Right.
but you're not an expert.
For sure.
So, and that's what these digital marketing agencies sell themselves as, experts. One of my agencies spent $8,000 on Google Words and told me they were excited. Hey, we got 3 sales out of it. Really? For $8,000?
Yeah, that's when it's time to cut the cord.
Right. It's an agency or somebody who's servicing me or any client has got to be able to look at their achievement and not say, "Oh, well, we drove all this traffic." Traffic
Means nothing. Yeah. I
Right.
always tell people like, oh, I got a lot of views and engagement. I'm like, but how much of that actually converted to sales?
Right.
That's what matters. It doesn't matter because you can have a million people viewing it in some third world country who are never like it. Just you need to
Right.
make sure it's relevant, and then if
That
you're
or bots or whoever else it is, and
yeah, it means nothing.
right. So that's conversion is king, and I don't think you know this. You look at something on Instagram or you look at something on Facebook or TikTok, and suddenly you start getting all the ads for it, right? If I get an
Right.
ad from one more guy trying to tell me or woman tell me that they know better, that they did this, or now there's the guys out there saying that if you've achieved $700,000 in sales, we can help you get more. If I've achieved $700,000, you're not gonna, change it that much. Of course you want, because we obviously we're gonna have an ad budget or we're gonna spend more. Yeah, those are the guys who crack me up, because they're telling you that they're gonna help you do better than you've been doing, and that's fine. But why, if I'm making $10,000, you can't help me?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
If your ideas are so brilliant, shouldn't you be able to help me at any level?
I agree 100%.
And
So I'm
yeah.
just curious, right? So, lots of companies are finding ways to use AI. So you guys use AI when it comes to your business, and if not, like, where do you think the AI could come in and help you
Well,
out?
I don't think from a standpoint of a company that we're at a point where AI works, because the majority of our business is wholesale.
Right. So I guess like from more the direct to consumer side.
And, it's funny. As a writer, I can always tell when somebody's written something with ChatGPT,
Right.
because it has no personality whatsoever.
Right.
And the smart person using ChatGPT will take it and edit it so it sounds like a human wrote it,
Right. Exactly.
right? Or somebody ChatGPT will write above a level of the potential customer, right? You got to know who you're selling to, right? So when
Right.
ChatGPT comes up with, 8 or 9 vowel, words and this and that, consonants, and it's just all over the place, you can just tell that it's ChatGPT.
Right.
And I think until ChatGPT and AI have the ability to become more human, for lack of a better way to put it,
Right.
it will always be fun, but it doesn't have enough personality to really be impactful yet. It will, because it's obviously learning. But AI and that type of thing, until it really is at a point where it can connect with real people. If you look at the Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator, right? The whole idea was they wanted to make them lifelike. But if you heard it talking, it didn't really connect. Right. And that's what I think the shortcoming to AI is right now, is it's still, and it's in its infancy stage, and people talk about it taking the place of writers.
Right.
And it very well may, but you can't teach AI comedy. You can't teach it to be funny.
Right.
My dad was a comedy writer, right? It's about delivery, it's about comedy, it's personality. and AI has no personality
For
per
sure.
se right now.
For sure. So if somebody watching this wanted to reach out to you, do you mind sharing your website or social media? I guess
Sure.
like best ways to get in contact with you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we have, obviously we have Upboxer on Instagram. We have Upboxers. We have Jack Abrams Accessories. We have Williamsburg Hatters. We have New York Motor Boutique. Brands that we make, but you won't reach us. But Ellen Tracy. So our wholesale business is Ellen Tracy, Joan and David, Mac Studios, Jessica McClintock, Adrian Vittadini. We have own brand, Jones New York. We have own brands called AW Items, Just Jamie, Rebecca and Rivka. We own Mac Studio. And then, obviously you can reach us. Our corporate website is MagidNYC.com. That will show you our wholesale catalogs. If anybody wants to reach out to me, it's Wayne at MagidInc.com. I'm always open to talk to everybody. Like I said, nobody's an expert. I learn from everybody I speak with. I have a 27-year-old son who's an attorney, who actually worked for Influential, who are the largest influencer marketing guides in the world. And now he works at ABG, Authentic Brands Group, who are the largest brand holders in the world.
Right.
So I learn from everybody. I have no issue talking to people. Everybody's like, well, you deal with your competitors. I'm like, if they can do it better than me, good for them. Good, that's great.
Right. Exactly.
My competition doesn't scare me. My lack of wanting to know more and learn and converse is scarier to me.
For sure. Awesome. Well, I just want to say, Wayne, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it. We're rooting for you in 2024.
Hey, I appreciate it much. And remember, if you would need a pair of underwear, upboxers.com. Plus, one other thing. We actually, for every pair purchased, we donate a pair of underwear to an underprivileged child, and 5% of our net proceeds go to charities that serve children.
That's amazing. Awesome.
So,
Well,
hey, I appreciate your time too.
likewise.
It's one of those things. The nice thing, working remote is a nice thing. Obviously, my kitchen behind me. So,
Awesome. All right. Thanks
All right.
again. All right. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.